Is how do you manage bedwetting? So it is this is part of a big larger talk, and so most pediatricians across America can give you this talk, and they'll give you all the options, and they'll walk you through all that stuff. And so when in doubt, if I miss something, because that is a distinct possibility as I'm talking about it, by all means, talk to your pediatrician because they are experts at this stuff. I trained as a pediatrician, but when you don't do pediatrics every day, you tend to forget things because I'm only human. So, as a psychiatrist, I often see bedwetting as well, especially in little kids. And the first key to bedwetting is to establish if this is a new thing. So, in other words, if a kiddo has never gained continence meaning control of their bladder and control of being able to hold their pee. So, if they have never gained continence, we call that primary incontinence or primary enuresis, Uresis, enuresis. And that's if that's the case, most times there's a structural issue going on. So either something is not performing in your bladder or your ureters, which connects your bladder to your kidneys or your urethra, or there's something going on. Most times there's a structural issue because that means that you were born not being able to control your bladder, which is expected. And then you continue to not be able to control your bladder. And that's not expected. That's unusual because at some point you're supposed to be able to gain control of being able to do so. And that it depends on the kid. Some kids are, quote unquote, potty trained by 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. It depends on the kid. Alrighty, so that's primary enuresis. Secondary enuresis means that you've gained continence, so you've gained the ability to control your pee, but for whatever reason, you don't have that control going forward or at certain times. And that part is a bit more tricky. Most times that's a functional issue. So the first primary is more structural, like something's going on. Secondary is more functional, meaning it's more related to your kind of will and ability to do so. And so, so we'll see continence or incontinence issues all over the place. Like I've seen it in slightly older kids who are ADHD and not paying attention, and they really like video games, and they'll play video games and pee on themselves. And you're like, what is this? You're like 7. Why are you doing that? And they just get so wrapped up in the game that they don't think about getting up to go pee. They don't listen to their bladder to go pee. Or it could be some kids have very traumatic experiences. So, rough housing or people being inappropriate in like the school bathroom. And kids are like, nope, I'm just not going back in there ever. And I'll just hold my pee and I won't go until I get home. And, they drink too much at lunch and then they have an accident. So any number of reasons why secondary enuresis can happen, those accidents can happen. How you treat either one of those, you have to establish if you think it's structural or functional. So if you think it's structural, if you think it's the first type, the primary enuresis type, most times send them to their pediatrician, who will do some tests, but then because it could be a urinary tract infection, it could be all sorts of stuff. And so if they rule all those things out, they'll send them over to a urologist, and urologists are doctors who are experts in, my eye is itching, who are experts in bladder and all of those systems, ureters and all that kind of stuff. And they can do tests to see if there's a structural issue. They're interesting, and I won't go into that because I don't do that kind of medicine. And so, but yeah, you can check WebMD or I will refer you to your local pediatrician. Yeah, go team. If it's a secondary enuresis, meaning there's a kind of willful component or motivational component to it, that is in my wheelhouse. That's something that we as psychiatrists deal with quite a bit. And one of the first ways to manage it is behaviorally. So there used to be bell pad systems where you can literally, it's a bell and a pad. Like you put the pad under the kid, and when it senses the kid is wet, it'll ding and wake the kid up to go and pee. That's one method. And that's pretty much kind of one of the established ways. The other thing is you just make sure that the kid goes to pee before they go to bed. Or if you have an ADHD kid and you know they're going to get distracted by whatever, and you know they're going to forget to go and pee, you just remind them, hey, go pee. And they'll go, oh, right. And so, or you schedule when they go and pee. It just makes it really straightforward so that then they don't even have to think about it. There are medicine options for it, which your pediatrician can walk you through. The two most common, one is called imipramine, and it is a medicine that we use for, you can use it for ADHD, you can use it for depression, but one of the side effects is it causes urinary retention, like it makes it hard to pee. And so sometimes pediatricians will use that medicine to help kids not pee during the nighttime. So that's one option. And then the other medicine is called DDAVP, and it's a version of a hormone that your brain makes and that tells your kidneys not to make pee. And it's the coolest thing ever, y'all. Like, I swear to God, it's one of the coolest medicines, discoveries, I think, in medicine, because it literally tells your brain not to make pee, and you just won't make pee. Now, not making pee is real bad if you do it for too long. If you do it for a short time, that's okay. But like if you go days and days without making pee, it means that that water's going somewhere, and if it ain't in your bladder and it ain't in your kidneys, you're going to be swelling up in other places. So that's why you have to do it under the guidance of a doctor. But the goal is you use only enough to keep a kid from making pee during the nighttime so that there's no pee to be released. And then in the morning, by the morning time, hopefully it wears off and they can go pee like they normally do for the rest of the day. So anyway, lots. I didn't realize that this answer was going to go so long. So that's how you treat bedwetting. The key is don't shame the kid. So if, especially for those kids that truly can't help it, don't shame them. You just say, no, strip your bed. Let's go wash the sheets. You help me make the bed so that they're involved in the process, and you go from there. So there are some other strategies that I use with some of my patients that I don't generally, advise out in the open, because they are very specific and I don't want anybody to take them out of context. So I'm giving you the really broad answers, but yeah, no shame, and just clean it up and keep on moving.